Welcome to the Monitoring and Evaluation Technology Expert series. In this video we'll be looking at web-based surveys. We're going to use our example project, which is a 5-year program providing soft skills training to young people. Delivered over a series of classes, we train them in employability skills. We're aiming to enroll 500 young people during the summer months, and each class will consist of no more than 25 students delivered right across the region. The requirement for our web-based survey is to be able to invite all students to complete the Employment Motivation Survey online. We're going to run this survey 3 times to measure the change in their motivation. So how does a web survey work? The first stage, once you've created your account online, is to design the survey. You then create a data file containing the student names and their email addresses and upload this into the cloud-based system. When you're ready, you send emails through the system inviting the students to click on a link and complete the survey. The student will receive the email, click on the link and begin completing the form online. When they've completed the survey, the results are stored in your online account. You can then download all of the survey results into a data file. So, in order to use the system, we need to make sure that our student database has their email addresses in order to send out the email invitations. The exported survey results will also contain a unique column that we require in order to identify the student. In this case, we could use email. We need this unique identifier to be able to match the exported survey results from the web survey tool back into our student database. This is not a simple task. Our challenge is to run a longitudinal survey. This means that we need to ask the same survey questions at different points in time. So for our sample project, we want to measure their motivational attitude before the training, immediately after the training, and about 3 months after the training. As we run each of those web surveys, we will collect a set of data, each of which is exported into its own separate data file. The email can be used to identify the student and to link those responses together. However, I would not recommend using email unless you can guarantee that the students are not sharing email accounts. So the possible combined survey results might look something like this, with the student information and then 3 sets of the web survey results. So the advantages of web surveys: generally they are faster to implement, simpler to operate and cheaper than other survey methods. There are quite a few free providers, although to get some of the advanced features you may need to pay a small fee. Your design can include skip patterns and interactive features which will help the student understand the questions and enable them to answer properly. A web survey may also be useful in situations where the student requires privacy to be able to answer the questions. The data that is generated from a web survey will be error-free. However, it is impossible to tell whether the questions are answered truthfully and therefore relevant. The challenges you have is that your students must have access to the internet. If not, there's no way for them to respond to your questionnaire. Longitudinal surveys are difficult to link and manage the exported data. It can be done, but it tends to be a manual task and is not trivial. Typically, web survey response rates are quite low. You may need to consider offering incentives for completing the survey. Because students are invited to complete the survey through email, their email system's spam detection system may block delivery of the email. The exported data from the web survey will only contain the survey answers, and it's difficult to disaggregate and analyse that data unless it's linked back to the student records in a database. Basic surveys can be implemented using free accounts. However, to collect more responses or export more specific data, you may need to pay a fee. Before you start, do a cost-benefit analysis. Make sure that web surveying is appropriate for your situation. If you have less than 100 students, is it worth the effort? Keep your surveys short and precise. Students will leave if the survey is too long and the questions are too difficult to understand. Use clear language and make the questions, the possible answers, and any help text culturally specific. Double check that the questions cannot be misinterpreted. Test the survey on colleagues and others who are not aware of the context. This will help you identify any misleading or vague questions. If you do test the survey, make sure you delete all of the test data before you begin inviting students. In most systems, you can add your logo to the survey pages and use colours that match your website or other materials. This will be very useful to allow your students to instantly recognise that the survey is from you. So in summary, a web survey allows you to survey a lot of students at once, inviting them to complete questionnaires. Typically, there are quite low response rates in this method. Web surveys can be free. However, they are quite difficult to reintegrate the results back into an existing database. GoProve is a cloud-based, end-to-end solution providing data collection, data management, and built-in analysis and reporting tools. This application offers web surveys and will automatically link responses to student records, allowing simple longitudinal survey data collection and analysis.